It's Jim. We're going to look at the Vsett 9R and 9+R together, sitting behind me. These are both from Rev Rides, and I'm looking at them both together because they are so similar in look, and a lot of the features are the same. Of course, there's a dual motor and single motor, but I would imagine most people are going to be looking at them at the same time. So I'm hoping to help you in that way and also give you a look at them. So let's get in close. So I think one of the most obvious things here with the Vsett 9 and the Vsett line in general is this little difference in color. So you have this kind of a turquoise with some stripes and black versus the kind of typical red and black. It's just a little outside of the typical colors, which is kind of nice to see a little change. Some of the things that stand out to me are just, it has a real clean look to the deck. And really the only differentiating factor on first look is right there at the deck. You see that says Vsett 9+, and it's upside down because of the way I set these, but then you got Vsett 9. So you may have already guessed or figured out or known, this one is a rear motor. And this one here, the 9+R, is the dual motor. Vsett mechanical disc brake with 120mm rotor. Got that single adjustable suspension swing arm. Go back to the deck here, that's really nice and sealed. That's the deck lights and turn signal. Come on the deck, it's more of a textured deck. Not a ton of grippiness except right on the lighter blue color where the Vsett logo is. Quite easy to clean up. Both of these scooters have dual charge ports here on the front of the deck. It makes it really easy to plug in the chargers. I am noticing a little bit of a propensity to collect a little dust and debris right here between the charge ports and that stem. Coming to the front, we got that other front swing arm and the other mechanical disc brake with no motor in there, but as we'll show on the other side, you can't really tell that. Well, sometimes you'll notice there's some noise from the vibration of this fender. It kind of has a little bit of flex point there. The noise seems to get more pronounced with the hotter it gets as the plastic's a little more flexible. And you can probably see there, they're starting to be on both of these. A little bit of plastic getting you can tell it's wearing there where the tire is hitting the fender. So I might advise some spacers or even adding some washers under the 4 bolts that hold this fender on. Same sort of tight clearance here in the rear. You can see that Vsett logoing on there. The tires are 8.5 inch by 3 inch wide, so that you can definitely tell when you're riding this. You notice the increased width over the 2 and 2.5 inch tires. The 8.5 inch diameter, it does start to show itself when you're going over really uneven terrain. 650 watt motor here on the 9R. Got the motor cable there. Coming through the kickstand. I want to make a quick note on the kickstand, and hopefully I can show you this. Getting back here far enough without tripping. The scooters kind of sit very upright on the kickstand, and I have knocked over this scooter already probably more than any other scooter I've had. I seem to just knock them over a lot. The deck here houses the 52 volt 17.5 amp hour battery, and go through up here, and you'll notice this is the non-motored front wheel. It doesn't visually look any different, which I kind of like that. You can't obviously tell that it's the single motor version, except if you spin it, there's no resistance. Another thing that I need to point out here on the wheels, you can see there's 2 sets of Allen bolts there. One holds the outer cover of the motor on, and the other is how you can get in there and separate the rims for easier tire changes. These are tubed tires on both of these scooters. So in the 9+R, you got a 650 watt motor here on the rear and one up there on the front. Sitting inside of the deck here is a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery. So these two scooters both have in the neighborhood of 1,000 watt hours, one a little bit more, one a little bit less. A lot of the real standout features on the Vsett are really not even down in this area. It's kind of coming up into here. This folding mechanism. See if I can kind of show you at the same time here as I'm pointing. So we have one safety there, one safety there, latch here. So it's almost like there's 4 systems that are kind of holding this latch in place. It does a really good job staying secured. Now there is just the nature of the size and diameter of this stem. There is a little bit of movement in the stem, and I'll try to show that as we're riding. It's not very much. This mechanism does a nice job, but no folding scooter in my mind is really perfect in that respect. So it takes a couple times to kind of get this exactly down. So first thing to do is you thread out this safety, this pin here, until it comes out completely. So it's actually you can tell it's not screwed into the stem at all. Then you pop that one off. So this is the thing that can be it takes a little practice managing where this is. And like a lot of stuff on the Vsett, this hook is adjustable, everything is adjustable in here. So you could change, if you wanted to even have to apply more force to pop it into place or less, you could change that a little bit in here. So you kind of got to get this out of the way so that's free to move. Now you're on this other safety on the side. You pull up to release, and now you can drop it down. And I'll show you how the other side locks in. This clasp and pin lock in, so they actually form a nice connection, so this stays in there pretty well for lifting it up. Right, the last thing you would do to fold this scooter all the way down is to release these folding collars. Of course, if you don't need to unfold them, then don't do it, right? So you thread to a certain point to the end of the threads, then it's got a spring loaded, and they fold in nice and compactly to holding onto the deck. That being said, they can fold in narrower than the deck. So if you're trying to latch this, you have to open these up to let the hand grips pass the level of the deck and then fold into the folding mechanism. This all just takes a time or two to get down, and then it's quite easy after that point. Now you have a scooter that's quite portable, and I'll put some of those dimensions on the screen. The Vsett 9R came in at 49.2 pounds, and the 9+R came in 54.9 pounds. These handlebars are nice and wide. They're 26 inches wide. They have a little bit of a sweep to them that's really nice and comfortable. This little bump out here are your turn signals. You got your horn and your dual single motor switch. Unlike some other scooters, there's not the Eco Turbo dual single. There's just a dual motor switch. I kind of like it. It kind of simplifies the situation. To power on, you hold the power button, and then you have to swipe your card or your paired phone that you can pair later. You got 3 of these keys. Make sure and put 2 of them in a very safe place and keep the other one in also a place you know. I'm not sure if you can see this screen right now. It's not highly visible, which is a little unfortunate, and there is a voltmeter display on here, and that's also not super visible in this sunlight like I have today. Little beepy horn. Hey, I don't mind that beep, it's fine, works for me. To turn on the lights on these scooters, you hold the plus button up. That turns on the lights. The turn signals work at all times. I'll put a little footage right now of the lights of both of the scooters. The deck there is 23 inches long by 7 inches wide. You can see how my size 10.5 shoes fit on there. It's it's got enough room. The width wise, if you're going long distance, I think having a little more width is nice, but it's adequate for even a little bit of side-by-side riding with your feet, depending on how big your feet are. Here I am on the Vsett 9R, the rear motor, 650 watt motor, 52 volt, 17.5 amp hour battery. It's nice to get a single motor scooter where you get all the benefits of a dual motor from a suspension side. So I'm going to show you how this runs through the different speed modes. The acceleration is very ginger. We're in 100% setting, and I'll put on the screen what the start setting is. I think I have it in the fast start setting. Let's wait till we get down this hill. Quite stable, nice flat section of the grips from ergonomic. This little bump is your turn signal actuator. These collars here do tighten in. They're threaded collar. They do tend to come a little loose as you're riding. So you do have to kind of retighten those on a longer ride. I'm going to be riding about 10 miles here. I rode 10 miles already. I'm going back to where I started, so we got a speed limit of about 14. I don't have cruise control on, so I just went up and it just bumped. That's kind of fun. So speed limit 2 with the 52 volts, you're getting a little more oomph to that motor. So we're kind of getting up in the low 20s. I think that's a little optimistic. And then I'm going to hit into this level 3, which is really speed cap 3. And you can see I can take that speed bump, no problem. Got enough suspension, and it's an adjustable suspension, so I can change that feel a little bit, which is nice. Looks like I might be a little over 25 actually. Before I got about 24 and a half. Quite a lot of settings in here you can change, like with most of these displays, and you can probably see there I'm having a hard time seeing this display in light. Some of these color displays like this, it's great at night and in dim light, but in bright light it's really hard to see. The trigger feels pretty good. Of course, you can do what I did and change the position of it to your liking. 8.5 inch by 3 inch tube tires. These are on separating rims, so tire changes shouldn't be much of an issue. That little bit extra width really makes the tires feel more substantial than they are. I rode the dual motor version of this in some pretty rough stuff, and it did fine. You know, off-roading, I think if you were going to do some trail riding, I think the 8.5 inch tire is probably going to get overwhelmed in that situation. I really think 10 inch tires are really the minimum for that kind of stuff. You can get hung up on pretty small rocks with an 8.5 inch tire, but for street riding, even with some bumpy pavement, they handle well. They feel pretty well planted. It's a stable feeling scooter. Going to give you a little feel for the ride here on the Vsett 9+R dual motor, 48 volt, 20 amp hours. I'm in single motor mode. It's pretty easy to tell on this scooter. When that is in, you're in dual motors. When it's out, you're in single. A nice change for a lot of these scooters. It's a little bit of a mystery, especially the black keypads. You can't really tell what you're in. You can feel it, but it'd be nice sometimes to be able to just switch into a mode, hand it to somebody, and know that they'd be okay. The little turn signal lights here come into the back of the grip. I'm already noticing a little bit of, I'm kind of wondering how well this is going to hold up. It already seems like it's kind of starting to show like it wants to come off here. Sorry, here we are in speed limit 1. It says gear at the top of the screen. It's a little hard to see, but we're at, about 14 miles per hour. So for speed limit 1, that's pretty quick. Show you kind of how the brakes work here. You can hear that little zoom of the regenerative braking being applied. Take off from in level 2 here. Speed limit 2. We're getting up a little further. Pretty cooking along there. At least by the display, we're at about 22, 23. All right, we're gonna see what our top speed is in single motor. Speed limit 3. The ride on this Vsett is quite good. Like, it's a lot more stable than I expected from a 23-inch tire. I mean a 8.5-inch tire. Looks like we got a little bit more than speed limit 2 had. So it's a big jump between 1 and 2 and not so much between 2 and 3. Back down to 1, dual motors. I'm gonna let me get down to this little bit of a corner, kind of just see how it handles here. I've been riding this scooter a little bit now, and it's a really nice handling scooter. So it looks like the speed limit caps are similar, maybe slightly higher jumping into dual motors, to be expected since there's not really that eco turbo option. You can see how going over that speed bump was very, very nice. About the same here in dual. That 23, 24 on the display, if you're seeing that. So we're in speed limit 3, dual motors. You can see, you know, a lot of these scooters tend to push you back a little bit, and then you take weight off the front wheel, and then you end up getting a little bit of wheel spin in the front. You almost have to lean forward a little bit over the front wheel. So I'm just gonna, this is not a very steep hill. I'm just gonna floor it right up this thing, see where we get with top speed and everything. As if you know my videos, you know I don't tend to go much more than that. But it's got plenty of oomph. You're easily getting over 25. I think some people maybe get over 30. I think the placement of the controls, the way it kind of overlaps onto the grip, is real nice. The palm, where your palm sits on this ergo grip, is very nice and wide. Also feels quite good. It is a locking grip, but the locking grip only locks on the outside. And again, I'm going to hit this speed bump up here with some speed. So that's where I could sense that 8.5-inch tire a little bit. On the entry to that particular bump, it was a little abrupt. And you know, the smaller diameter tires just don't roll over some stuff that larger diameter tires would. It's just a fact of the matter. You end up with a lower form factor, smaller form factor rather, and typically lighter weight, but you kind of are, it's always a give and take with electric scooters with pretty much any feature on them, and tires are maybe the most pronounced of that. There in Milo, we're going to give you some real-time racing footage on the Vsett 9R. All right, so Milo is in single motor mode on the 48-volt 9+R, and Sarah's on the 52-volt 9R single motor. So they're both in single motor mode. Difference about 20 pounds. So let's see how these stack up. Pretty close. So that was pretty interesting, as maybe to be expected. They were pretty much neck and neck, but then the 52 volts on that rear motor, slightly same controller output, so slightly more power, gradually crept ahead. So again, same run. They are in the same scooters, but Milo just switched into dual motor mode. So, I mean, that's pretty striking, the difference, right? When you switch from 1 to 2 motors. So Milo passes the mic, he's going to give it the full beans. Really, the only sound I got was from the tire. So quiet, like it's... Maybe I should just leave the rake in. Talk to the rake. Thanks for joining me for this look at the Vsett 9R. regular R and 9+R. A fun scooter. Interesting to have these options with different batteries and maybe not what you would expect for voltage versus dual motors and single motors. Performance wise, I'm just going to throw that all up on the screen right now. You can also go back to my performance video that will be linked right here. Gives you that detail when I actually measured all this stuff. But acceleration kind of makes sense. The single motor 48 volt, the 9+R was the slowest, then goes to the 9R, and then the dual motor was the fastest. Braking wise, the 9R stopped a little quicker, it's a little lighter. And the hill climb, as to be expected, the dual motor scooter just blew up the hill. Range wise, in the mid 20-mile range is what I got, and I was riding it somewhere in between 15 and 20 miles per hour most of the time. I did not do a range test in single motor mode on the 9+R. I found in the past that the resistance from that front motor when it's not running you don't tend to get a lot more efficiency in single motor mode. If I get an opportunity to test it in single motor mode, I will put that down in the description, and there's going to be a bunch of stuff down in the description like I always put down there. A little summary of the results, all my specs that I measured in myself on these two scooters will be down in the descriptions too. So if you have any ideas of anything you'd like me to do with these two scooters while I still have them, let me know down in the description below. Give it a like, thumbs up. I think I liked, thumbed when like, whatever. You do all that stuff. It helps out the channel and it helps me do more videos and bring you more content. Anything you want to say, throw it down there. I'm happy to hear from you and I'm happy to answer your comment. So we'll see you on the next one real soon. Thanks.
Catch the wave.